All right, so welcome back. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through and kind of look at your activity. I just want to go through a couple things with you guys so that as you go through it a little bit, you'll have an idea of what you're doing and what you're looking at. So this is the page that's attached. You guys should be able to write right on it and be able to send it right back into me. So this is utilizing the notes from the previous video. So hopefully you guys looked at that. So I went through your two different rules, your multiplication and your addition rule, and when to use which when you're trying to determine your possibility or probability of getting something. So if we're looking at the first couple problems, this is just with coin tossing. Like I said, you need 2 coins. Try to make them the same coins. That's why they're the same weight and the same, everything should be the same amount. It's part of that scientific method. So quarters, pennies, I don't really care. So the first one, you're calculating the probability of getting tails when tossing a coin. This is just a single coin that you guys are flipping, just one coin. So no 2 coins yet. Like I said, get 2 coins, but this one with you're flipping 1 coin, what's the probability of getting tails? Well, think about your rules, think about the number of sides to that coin and how you would do it. So how many tails would you expect if you toss that coin 10 times? Once again, just that single coin. Now you guys are physically going to do. So you guys are going to take your coin, you're going to toss it 10 times. How many tails? How many heads? Remember, we talked about probability of what it should be, but if we're doing it 10 times, are we going to get what you calculated that it should be? So now you guys are going to go through and calculate the probability of getting tails. So now what you're doing is now you got those 2 coins. So now we want tails and tails on both those coins. That means that both coins, when we flip them, they should be tails and tails on that. Okay, so what else could we get? Well, think about it. You guys could have tails and tails, which is what we want to kind of get on that particular flip. But I could also get heads and heads on those 2 coins. Maybe I flip one and one lands on heads and one lands on tails. One lands on heads, one lands on tails, like what we have there. Well, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the first coin lands on tails, the second tail lands on heads. It's the same thing, but it's a reverse. So we could also get tails and heads. So those are all the different combinations that I'm having there. Okay, so you're looking at 2 coins at the same time. So how many for tails and tails? Probability for that. So as you guys go through, see what we have. You guys are going through and calculating out that probability. Calculate the probability of getting 1 heads and 1 tails when tossing those 2. Which rule did you guys use? Now take your 2 coins and do it 10 times. What result would you expect if you toss those 2 coins 10 times? So this is just calculate or thinking about it. This is kind of your hypothesis that you guys have here. What number do you think it would be? Then you're going to do it. How many do you think? So remember, with that, we said, okay, we can have heads and heads. We can have tails and tails. We can have tails, heads, or heads, tails. So think about that and give me that number. When you flip those 2 coins 10 times, what numbers did you guys actually get for that? As we're continuing on the back side, you guys are looking at those numbers. How do they kind of compare with each other? Now, instead of doing it 10 times, let's do it 100 times. So once again, a hypothesis. If you guys did this 100 times, what do you think if you toss those 2 coins 100 times, what would you kind of expect? What would be your hypothesis on that in terms of heads, tails, tails, heads, 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 and tails, tails? Now you guys are actually going to do it. So keep me a little chart. Heads, heads. Do little lines under them as you guys are flipping them through. Grab someone in your family. Have them keep a tally for you as you keep sitting there flipping coins. Tails, 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 heads, or heads, tails. They are the same thing. Okay. So how do the actual numbers in 12 compare to what you guys had in 11? So how do your actual numbers compare to your hypothesis? Then you guys are going to kind of look at class data. So if we were in class, I would have given you guys some numbers. Here's some numbers that I had from a previous year. So my class data for everybody in the class. Heads, heads. When I added, I actually had 12 groups that day. Would have been 289 total out of all 12 groups on those particular tosses. Number of tails that I had was 307. So notice those are pretty close there. When I go to my heads, tails, or tails, heads, remember they are the same thing, I have 604. So you guys are utilizing that class data, and you guys are going to use that to answer the last 2 questions. So let me know if you guys have any questions. You guys, like I said, should be able to type right into it, but the only way that you guys are getting that class data is if you go back and make sure that you guys are watching this particular video. So hopefully this helped. You guys will see a little bit of this on your test next Tuesday. We have one more little kind of review activity, and then we'll do some other little review stuff later in the week as well. Okay, so send me any questions that you guys may have. If we need to Google Meet, we can do that as well. Have a good day. Bye.